Next tonight, to a fight over something we all need to survive, water. The U.S. and Mexico are engaged in a decades-old battle for the precious resource, with a key deadline coming up in just a few days. And farmers at our southern border say Mexico isn't holding up its end of the deal, putting their livelihoods at stake. While this is playing out in Texas's Rio Grande Valley, what happens there could have major implications for us all. Mireya Villarreal breaks it all down in tonight's Prime Focus.
The Rio Grande Valley along the South Texas border, once nicknamed the Magic Valley, was a place of rich soil that allowed for year-round farming. This fertile land allowed generations of farmers to thrive, with the Rio Grande River nearby to help grow crops. But today, farmers are facing a growing crisis that could devastate the agriculture industry down here.
How much water?
Destroy businesses, leave thousands without a job, and ultimately affect the supply and cost of food for our families.
We went through this, 6 or 7 years ago. We went through this 12 or 13 years ago. But it's gotten more severe every time it happens because the water supplies get lower and lower and lower. And we are literally at a point where growers in South Texas and communities are not going to be able to survive unless there's a water solution.
J&D Produce is a family-owned business that opened in 1986, employing 200 full-time employees and up to 600 seasonal workers.
We're on our farm known as Big Bear Farm. It's close to 1,000 acres. Normally, there would be cilantro behind us. There would be parsley. There would be leeks. There would be onions. Melons would be coming on. This farm would be full of commodities that we would still be harvesting today.
Agriculture is the dominant industry contributing to the economy here. And farmers say they are reaching a breaking point, in dire need of water.
If you like to eat fruits and vegetables that are grown in the United States, this is a reason to care, because we're losing fruit and vegetable production in Texas. That means that they're probably going to pay more for those products, or there's going to be less of that product available, or you're going to have to say, I'm okay with having Mexican-grown onions instead of Texas-grown onions, or instead of, Georgia-grown onions or Florida-grown onions. Big regional retailers across the country is our primary customer base.
So safe to say that the produce, the agriculture that you guys are growing and harvesting here,
yes,
eventually will end up on our tables.
That's correct.
Climate change means hotter temperatures along the border and very little rainfall, certainly not enough to sustain crops down here. The Rio Grande River is the only source of fresh water for irrigation purposes in South Texas, but it's a shared resource with Mexico. And for decades, they've refused to honor a treaty that was signed in 1944 that dictates how the water is shared.
Are you saying that there's a possibility that not just crops and agriculture could be impacted, but we're talking about cities, businesses, people's homes?
It's already happening. There's several small communities in South Texas that have had severe water restrictions placed on them.
This October, Mexico is supposed to release another large amount of water through the Rio Grande River, but farmers don't believe that will happen, and they question whether the U.S. government has the power to do anything about it.
Why aren't we talking about it more?
We've been talking about it for decades down here. Unfortunately, it hasn't ever risen to the ranks of being a national story. Why aren't we doing more? We're dying. We're withering. Our businesses are falling apart.
The Rio Grande River starts in Colorado, but has little to no flow south of El Paso, Texas. That's where the water treaty comes in. Mexico is supposed to deliver 350,000 acre-feet of water every year for a total of 1.75 million acre-feet in a 5-year cycle, a cycle that's up again this October. The Rio Conchos River in Mexico is supposed to help supply this part of the Rio Grande River that flows into South Texas, but that's not happening.
The only way that we get water to this area
is mainly from Mexico.
Sonny Hinojosa has been following this growing war over water for more than 3 decades.
The treaty has no teeth, no enforcement mechanism, no penalties. If Mexico doesn't deliver, you give them another 5 years to do so.
Agriculture experts in South Texas tell us 30% of the land meant for fresh fruit and vegetable planting is not being used. And thousands of people have lost their jobs in the last few years because of this.
The shutdown of the sugar mill you see right behind me is what really got people's attention because it's one of the last mills in the country and hundreds of people lost their jobs.
There wasn't sufficient water to sustain that industry. If you don't have the crop to process, it ended the life of the sugar mill.
In the spring, President Trump used tariffs to threaten Mexico over failure to comply with the water treaty. USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins also visited the area, promising to do more. In response, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum acknowledged they have fallen short of their treaty commitments, citing drought issues and saying that they have complied to the extent of water availability.
No creo que deba negociarse, es un tratado justo, que lo que ha pasado es que hay menos agua en el Río Bravo, sobre todo pues que llevamos casi 4 años de sequía, entonces pues hay menos agua. Entonces lo que están buscando son otras alternativas para técnicamente poder cumplir con el tratado.
Over the summer, Mexico did release some water, but experts say it's a trivial amount in comparison to what they should deliver, leaving many to believe the magic here in South Texas is truly at risk of disappearing.
You wait till October when that water is, quote unquote, due from Mexico?
We have no choice. So we will wait till October to see when that water comes due and how much is going to be paid. We have never had this level of attention on our region with respect to farming and agriculture and water. And it's been a long time coming. I just hope that it's not too late.
Our thanks to Mireya. And important to note, just before this story went to air, the State Department sent a statement to ABC News saying, in part, Mexico is on a path to deliver more Rio Grande water to the United States this year than in the previous 4 years combined. Together, we are defining a clear path forward to allow Mexico to fulfill its commitment under the 1944 Water Treaty to consistently provide regular and sustained water deliveries to American farmers, ranchers, and municipalities.